Mount Fuji of Japan is a landmass veiled in as much snow as religious mysticism. One of Japan's 3 holy mountains, this, one of the most prominent mountains on the planet, is often believed to house another world. If one sought this world, there are many ways to enter, and just as many ways to exit, although few ever leave. One such seeker has found her way. Mako Hibiki Hirimitsu, an ambitious Hayabusa ninja and a seeker of that other world. Having recently stolen a strange demon artifact from a shrine of the Silver Basilisk Ninja Clan, the Pale Stone Dragon Tooth, which can sense the underworld entrances. After days of searching with no avail, Maku's call is answered. While making the trek to the base of Mount Fuji, Dragon Tooth, a necklace with a bronze and stone depiction of a dragon's tooth, begins to glow just slightly. Sensing a part of its essence, the underworld swells with longing and a vicious smell fills Maku's nose. The smell of burning flesh and putrid gases. Dark gusts of energy wash through the air around Maku and pull her onward. The wind whips into a frenzy, blowing away Maku's equipment, food, and trinkets, and various other gifts. Mako stands and braces against the tree as the blistering wind blows harder and snow slashes through the furious air. Maku ducks into a cavern. Looking back, there is soaring snow rushing past the entrance to the cavern. Mako is miles into the sky and can see the tops of the trees that cover her homeland in green. She looks deep into the blackness of the cavern and steels herself. She charges her ninpo and lights a small flame in her hand. The putrid smell worsens and she covers her mouth and nose in a failed attempt to rid herself of it. The cave walls are painted with beautifully crafted pictures of colorful aquatic beasts swimming and leaping through the air. There is a small living quarters with a glowing fire and a bed. Upon a table, numerous ninja paraphernalia sit, and shining jewels and necklaces are hung along the crags of the cavern. Mako sits at the fire, hands held to it. She rubs her arms with the newly captured warmth and exhales slowly. I can do this, Mako reassures herself. If I am to become powerful, places such as this must not deter me. Places such as this will not deter me. She looks behind her into the darkness. All she can hear is constant dripping of loose water and echoing crackles from deeper in the cave. The pale stone dragon tooth now shines brightly. Mako notices some small bronze and stone rocks trembling on the table and moves to it. The rocks suddenly slide together and form into another dragon tooth. It flies off the table and collides with Mako's pale stone, welding itself to the other tooth. Mako grips the newly combined pale stone. He wanted to become one again. Is that why I was brought here? Asked Mako. Then suddenly a blade presses to her neck. Mako rolls forward, casting mud from the cavern floor over the fire. A figure charges her suddenly, and they fall between the crags and slam to the ground. The fiend rushes away, but Mako grabs its legs and tackles it. Mako unsheathes her Kodachi and thrusts to kill the beast, but it bucks loose, and as Mako stands, the fiend kicks her through another hole. She slips further down into the cavern. Leaping from wall to wall, she lands, and the darkness is just slightly alleviated by shining stones in the walls. There are tiny beams of light glistening into the tunnel from cracks in the ceiling. Mako pulls her dagger in her left hand and grips the ninja Kodachi in her right. The fiend draws a blade, a katana, from its back, and the katana resonates with thirst. Light glistens off the green and yellow creature. The creature is covered in a dirty, shredded kimono that was once vibrant with yellow and royal blue flowers. Wet, brown sludge slips off of Maku's navy blue ninja armor. The tentacles on the Fiend's back and head curl and writhe, and it trains its gaze and blade on Maku. She can see its eyes clean in the darkness, yellow and black, beady and inhuman. The steel sings and the sparks burst as the two battle. The wide swaths of the katana's range are equaled by several swipes and slashes of Maku's shoulder kodachi as Maku draws closer, where she has the advantage to plunge the dagger into the Fiend's chest. The creature is able to easily deflect her blades with a large spiked tortoise shell on its arm, giving itself a mortal opportunity. The Fiend appends Maku a critical strike to the stomach, thrusting the blade deep into her side, and she reels backward, slipping through a hole. Maku slams into the sides of the cavern and yells aloud as the deep gash is widened before finally smashing into the ground below. Roach fiends scatter away as the Fiend lands. Finding it restraining her breath, Maku tears off her ninja helmet and grips her wound as the blood rushes out. Seemingly surprised, the Fiend stops in its tracks. Maku screams at the beast, cursing it for its treachery, for this Fiend is Kazunai, a fiend Maku had previously made a pact with. For once Maku reached Mount Fuji, she was to perform a summoning ritual to call for Kazunai once again. Now Kazunai stood above Maku, her blade dripping with Maku's blood. Kazunai berates Maku for sneaking into her home and for being masked all the while, making identifying her impossible at the time. Kazunai steps forward, but Maku trains her blade, only to find her strength waning and drop it again. Kazunai kneels and apologizes. She puts a foul-smelling sack filled with sloshing liquid to Maku's mouth, but Maku rejects it. Kazunai grabs Maku's head and restrains her, pouring the putrid liquid into her mouth before Maku is able to clench her teeth shut. A burning ache rips through Maku's body, and she leans over and retches from the taste and smell, but her stomach wound fills with blood and mucus and seals shut. Kazunai informs her that the seal might hold just long enough for Maku to make it to Master Shinkai's monastery, where the Fiend priest can apply real healing. Kazunai begins helping Maku to stand, but Maku shoves her and stands alone. Suddenly, they both hear rumbling. The walls burst with roach fiends, large dog-like insects. Their emaciated bodies twitch with hunger as they fill the room. Their beaming red eyes glow in the dimly lit darkness. Their black shells are striped with a bright yellow coloring and dripping with mucus, glistening in the low light. There are razor-sharp pincers at the top and bottom of their torsos that are used to impale and hold their prey for them to chew and tear at with their jaws. They hunch forward on hardened spiked clubs. The incessant tweaking and squeaking calls of the roaches fill the room as they do, and soon both Maku and Kazunai are outnumbered by 10. Kazunai retrieves and throws Maku's kodachi to Maku. She announces that it is strange that beasts like this would come so far up before the roaches leap at them. The hungry roaches attack without consideration for each other or themselves, and the steel of the blades easily parts their hardened carapaces. As the blades thrust deeper in, thick white blood squirts along the floors and walls. After cutting down several tens of the creatures, they begin to chime simultaneously, squealing and screeching aloud, and an enormous rumbling begins as an armored black roach crashes through a smaller hole in the wall. Kazunai, at first surprised and confused by the beast's appearance this far up, then refocuses and informs Mako to aim for the monster's legs. Mako slashes at the beast's legs, but her blade can barely cut deep enough to make a difference. Kazunai yells of the squealing and cracking of carapace for Mako to press deep into every slash to damage the hardened shell, as she herself slashes deep into the legs of the beast, causing one leg to fall off. The monster falls over and Mako leaps onto it and runs along its soft flesh, tearing it open and exposing the vital organs of the creature. As the creature bleeds, thick white blood fills the floor of the cavern, and movement for all involved becomes sluggish and rough. 3 of the beast's legs are torn off as the 2 of them swing and slash. The monster rolls into a tight ball and slides up the wall of the cavern to the ceiling, slamming down into the ground. It splatters roach parts everywhere. As they shield themselves from the parts, the monster leaps at Mako and its enormous jaws just miss Mako's head, but the friction with its bottom jaw snaps her arm backward below the elbow. Kazunai leaps and thrusts the katana deep into the beast's head, then rips upward, tearing off a piece of its weakened exoskeleton. The weakened monster slams to the ground in fatigue, and the roach fiends begin to devour the dying beast. As the roaches eat, the 2 slip through a hole in the wall and battle several more roaches. Maku's become sluggish and weak, but Kazunai, having sheathed her katana, uses the newly broken roach carapace and her tortoise shell to slam the beasts into walls and deflect their attacks. Kazunai guides Mako through the tunnels and eventually into a small hole that Kazunai herself has carved out, leading to another home covered in stolen material. Mako falls onto a makeshift bed and screams, writhing in agony. Kazunai paces back and forth, trying to think and trying to block out Mako's screams. Kazunai lights a fire with fire magic and illuminates the hovel. Kazunai reaches for Mako's snapped arm, but Mako resists and struggles away. The limp limb hangs in her hand. Kazunai sternly informs her that it must be reset if she wishes to use it again. As the 2 of them wrestle for control, Mako's screams echo through the cracked and twisted cavern walls and pierce into the open air outside Mount Fuji that whips and twists furiously. Perhaps the snow-capped mountain has claimed another foolish enough to seek power.